Even though I lost 80 pounds, I was exercising, I was meditating, none of that really came together until I took care of the one thing that made the biggest difference. And that was the voice in my head. The voice that told me I wasn't good enough, I shouldn't ask for what I was worth, I shouldn't be a burden on others. And that voice I started to call the inner idiot, because although it was trying to protect me at times, it mainly held me back in life. The big problem with the inner idiot, or that voice inside your head, is you confuse it with you, the real you, and it's not. It's just a self-perception. You see, you're not the voice in your head. The voice in your head comes from two places. One is self-protection, where it's trying to keep you safe. And two, it's an echo of the things you were essentially taught to believe about yourself. Either you're not good enough, you're a burden, all these kind of negative talk that becomes negative self-talk. And it wasn't always overt. I think a lot of times we have a feeling or perception of ourselves based on our impression. So a lot of it is imagined. So think about how you take an imagined belief about yourself, like what others think of you, then you internalize it and make it your inner voice. That's why it's the inner idiot. It's so often based on something other than facts. Because of the inner idiot, I kept jobs I really didn't love. I stayed in relationships that weren't really healthy or serving me well. I essentially didn't take care of myself because I was stressed and anxious about all these things I believed to be true, which weren't really true. So those things held me back. That voice told me if I ask for what I'm worth, if I ask for more, if I do anything to challenge those around me, I would lose them and I'd be alone. And it was the fear of losing all of that that kept me small, that kept me quiet, that kept me on the sidelines and accepting whatever life was giving to me. This inner idiot didn't go away overnight, but it started to change after one really important meeting, because it was probably the first time that I was able to silence that voice and take a risk, and I really felt satisfied and fulfilled. It was a meeting with my ex-business partner. It was a meeting that was long overdue about me expressing my feelings about how I was being compensated and how I was being treated and just my overall worth. It was really a self-worth argument in a work scenario. Now, keep in mind, this was alongside me starting a divorce process. So I was already finding more self-worth in my life, but I still was missing it in my work. And I found that meeting to be a complete success. Not because I got everything I wanted. In fact, I barely got anything I wanted. The success wasn't measured in the outcome, it was measured in the action. And that's really important. We need to start measuring ourselves by actions we take. If we are afraid to speak up, speaking up is the action, and that alone is success. Sure, you want to get the impact and get the results you want, but you can't guarantee that. You can't control that. All you can control is your actions. And that meeting, I left that meeting pumped up because I said everything I wanted to say bluntly and squarely, and I never regretted it because I didn't hold anything back. So even though I didn't get what I wanted, it taught me that there's a satisfaction in saying it and getting it out there. So while that inner voice went away in that important meeting, it still tries to crop up in other parts of my life. And what I find is the best way to quiet it is to flip it around. When you hear the voice of doubt, flip it, and don't flip it to kind of, absurd confidence. You don't have to say I'm the greatest person in the world. You simply have to flip it to say, what else is possible? So if a situation looks scary and you're worried about the outcome, think about what else is possible. What if it works out? And just ask yourself, well, what if it all works out? How great would that be? The same thing when somebody sort of gives you a compliment. Sometimes our inner voice talks us down from a compliment. If somebody says, wow, you did a wonderful job, instead of thinking they're just being nice, what if you believe them? What if you truly believe not just their words, but your actions were amazing? And then you start to have confidence in yourself that what you do is amazing. And that level of confidence should come from within, but it might start for you by recognizing when you see someone else say it about you, you accept it and you embrace it. Today, my inner voice is mainly quiet and it doesn't hold me back in many parts of my life, except with dating. Because I've been divorced for several years now, I've yet to hit that dating edge of growth where I'm putting myself out there confidently. And it's probably these old insecurities and fears of rejection and maybe some self-esteem issues of when I was very much overweight and I didn't feel good about the way I looked. So that's holding me back because I hesitate to put myself out there in a world that is full of rejection, which is dating. And I kind of think that we all will find our match out there, and you are the right flavor for the person who gets you. So just believe that and put yourself out there in your own way in your life, whatever might be holding you back. It may not be dating, might be something else. It's really that self-belief of you are enough. So quieting this inner voice was the single biggest thing that changed in my life to make everything else stick. Because once that inner voice shut up, I was able to really see the value that I had, have self-respect, have self-love, and have this deep self-worth. And that allowed me to just be a better person overall, because once the doubt leaves, you present yourself with a greater energy and you attract people to you because you're being your full self and fully present. And you're no longer masking and hiding behind this facade of fear, of lack of worth, and this sort of just this disguise that keeps you hidden instead of present in the world. So in your own life, start there. Question your inner voice. Flip it. Talk about the opposite of that. And what if that were true? And show that self-belief. And this is the message I'm sharing with you today. And I'm going to share a lot more messages just like this. So if you're enjoying it, stick with me. There's much more to come. Thanks so much.